Welcome to the realm of heroes and monsters. Story time with your host, AP Fuchs. Stories of intrigue, stories of horror, stories of superheroics, stories of monsters. Get ready, the thrill ride begins.
And we are back this week with another episode of the Realm of Heroes and Monsters with me, your host, AP Fuchs, writer, artist, Canadian, and just big darn dork. But yeah, here we are. All right, so welcome to a new episode. We are pretty much nearing right at the end here of season 3, so thank you for sticking with us for all these episodes. It's been great. And this episode is going to be interesting. It's well, you know, the story is going to certainly influence the story before the story, and I will touch on to some, a controversial subject, to others not, but I'll let you guys decide on if it's something to get all in a fluff about or not, okay? All right, so ready? Get ready for story before the story, because I want to get to the story. Again, thanks for joining us. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Wow. Welcome to Story Before the Story, where this season we are doing what? We've said it every single episode pretty much, and that's exploring stories. That's right, stories in real life and how they apply to us 24/7, 365. Anyway, this one's kind of weird. I'm going to talk about cults briefly because we're doing a segment here. So just a segment on cults, okay? And it has a thing to do with stories with this, so we'll get to that in a minute. But we've seen cult behavior in the world, whether it be mild or whether it be extreme. In my own life, I have seen horrible things in terms of cultish behavior from others, and the damage that can do, and the terribleness that it gets carried out. I've seen it firsthand, and it's awful, and it's horrible, and it's disgusting. And at the same time, right, the person involved in that behavior thinks they're doing the right thing. You know, as far as they're concerned, if you put a polygraph on them, they are telling the truth, right? Give them some sodium pentothal or whatever, and they're going to tell you nonsense, but to them, that's 100% true, right? So this is what is weird is I've gone over this in other episodes, right, where we tell ourselves stories for different reasons. You know, we talked about dreams, we talked about memories, we talked about daydreaming, methods to tell ourselves stories. And in this case, when you belong to a cult, you know, you don't just, it doesn't work this way unless you're really weird, is you don't just like, oh, hey, there's a cult, I'm going to go join it, right? It's usually you get lulled in very slowly, right? Because your reasonable mind at first is going to object. And then as time goes on, though, you find yourself going down a very, very shallow slope. And it's only until you're at the bottom do you realize that you're in it. And in the meantime, though, the slope itself, too, is the cult, right? So you just keep going and going and going and getting involved with this and that and this and that. And the bottom line is, I mean, I've never been in a cult, so I can't say firsthand experience, but it makes me curious, the stories that are told to these people from whoever's leading or people leading, that twist reality to such a degree that the cult is the answer. You know, these fabricated ideas or tales. And you know what even makes it even worse is they'll take a story that is true, like something from real life that happened, but then they'll fictionize it in some fashion, whether by a little or a lot, and they'll get you to believe it. I mean, we've seen what happened in the States. Clearly cult behavior, right? And it's out of hand and it's ridiculous. And it's all based on stories. It's based on conspiracy theories, and which are stories. And soon enough, the story is believed to be true. And it's weird how we do that. And in the case of cults, they're being told stories as they go along their cultish journey to whatever the end game is, right? They always don't have an end game and mass suicide. It could be something else, right? So the point is, though, like, what stories are they being told? What is so convincing, you know, that is accepted as truth? What predisposition does the person have to be in? And this could be any of us, by the way, because all of us are susceptible to anything at any time. What is in that person's life that's making them more willing to believe things, willing to believe these stories, willing to believe these tales that maybe are half true, half not, which means entirely they're actually not true because either it's true or it's not. But bottom line is, what are they being told? And again, it's an example of stories being told in real life, and in this case, a horror story, because typically cult stories end in a horrorish type of ending. And yeah, it's just a point of curiosity. And actually, having witnessed what happened down south, seeing that part of it on that level, it's religious, yes, but that's not the focal point. It's being twisted into such, but that's actually not the agenda there. So I've never seen like a religious oriented, like a very really religious oriented cult stuff, other than once in my life, and it was gross. It was horrible. But outside of that, yeah, I've never seen that kind of part of it, but I've seen how the stories influence the mind, ergo makes you believe something that's not true, ergo puts you in a group who all share the same ideology. And yeah, another case of stories in real life where, in this case, horror stories can come true. Which leads us to the upcoming story, The Jump. Enjoy. The Jump. Tina stood on the edge of the cliff and looked down. It was easily a 100-story drop, if not more, one that ended on jagged boulders with sharp cheese jutting out from it between them. I can't do this, she thought, but there was no other way to get to the other side of the life she now led. Master Bram even said so. You're special, Tina, just like the others, he had said. You deserve more. You are more. But no one in your life has ever seen it. No one but me. She knew his words were true. Master Bram's words were always true, and his teachings irrefutable, especially the one about humanity living with a limited mindset and not seeing what could be beyond their meaningless little lives. Master Bram had given her a home and love along with 5 other teenage girls. The other 4, they had already jumped, already proven their worth to their master, proven their trust. Now, those girls had moved on to greater things, bigger things, better things. The only way to be free of this life you now live is to step off this cliff and join the others, Master Bram said. Have no fear, child, for I'll be right behind you. It was hard to read his expression beneath the big brown hood that covered his face. It was the same cloak he wore when they lit the candles at night and prayed for revelation to what he and the girls really were. We go one by one, but we do this together, he said. Tina peered down over the ledge. The rocks and trees suddenly looked even sharper. What if I can't do it? She asked. What if it doesn't work? My dear child, I have always told you the truth, have I not? The others believed, and look what happened. They were enlightened and now soar through the clouds, becoming what they were destined to be. I searched the earth for you. You were once lost, but now found. Trust me, it will be all right. Have faith. Tears leaked out of the corners of Tina's eyes. All she could do was nod and take a deep breath, though it did little to stay her speeding heart or calm her rubbery limbs. Master Bram moved behind her and placed his hands on her shoulders. He nudged her closer to the ledge. Her toes curled over the edge of it, but she stopped herself, pressed back against him. Not yet, she said. I'm not ready. You are, my child. You are. But you must do this on your own. Just believe. Be free. Freedom. That was the promise. Freedom from this world to become something more. Tina closed her eyes and took another calming breath. Her heart slowed a little. She thought of the other girls. She thought of Master Bram. She thought of the truth imparted over the past 6 months. Her heart became still. Tina opened her eyes and stepped off the ledge. Her body plunged toward the jagged rocks below. In seconds, she would be free. In seconds, it would be all over, and she'd join the others in the sky. In seconds, her back split open, the muscles tearing and bones breaking, sending a jolt of pain throughout her body that made everything lock up and bright white stars dance along her vision. From just behind her, a sudden whoosh as wings blew out the back of her body. The ground rushed up to meet her. Her wings flapped of their own accord, and her descent slowed. She soared over the rocks and trees and ascended to where her friends waited for her in the sky, the exhilaration of flight setting her spirit free and removing her from the mere human she once was. She glanced over her shoulder. Master Bram had removed his cloak, revealing a pair of massive black wings with shimmery feathers. He took off from the cliff's ledge and joined them in the sky, each flap of his dark wings sending golden dust into the air. He joined them, just like he had promised, and had set them free. Master Bram always told the truth. Here we are, after the credits, and this after credits segment is very simple. I'm going to give you a confession. I think I may have mentioned it in the podcast in previous episodes, but I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be flat out blunt. These episodes are made up on the fly. 100% first draft recordings. That's the way it is. Okay, that's what I have the ability to do, and that's the way I've been carrying out the show this entire time. But the reason for it is the issue of not overthinking it. It's the issue of not really planning it outside of a general format. It's the idea of just talking honestly, first time, first draft, as if you and I got together and we just had to sit down and had to talk. I mean, you can't edit your speeches prior to talking to somebody, or, you know what I mean? You can't, okay, we just had to talk. Let's do that again, but let me try a different way. You know, like seldom does that occur, right? So, yeah, I just want to say that these episodes are just 100% from the heart, 100% being honest, and 100% raw, because I believe that the artist/writer's journey is about pursuit of the truth, and the only way truth can be conveyed is in its honest, purest form, and that's from the heart, and just being first draft about it. So that's a little bit confession as to how these episodes are done, and I hope you tune in next week as we conclude, or not conclude it next week, sorry. See there, I just goofed, but I'm not going to edit it out. Anyway, not next week, but as we head toward the conclusion of Season 3, which is very soon. All right, we'll see you next week.